This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
When an unexpected emergency becomes a terrifying reality, we can only hope that those around us have the skill and courage equal to our needs. I'm William Shatner. Tonight, true stories of caring efforts to save lives on Rescue 911. We begin on the morning of October 23rd, 1990, along a foggy stretch of highway near Russellville, Arkansas.
You can see these log trucks going down the road all the time with these big, huge pine logs hanging out the back, and I don't know how many times you'll pull up behind those and just look at that and think, my God, you know, if a person ever hit one of them, you know, it would be over.
Around 8 a.m., Sharon Murray was heading east down Highway 64. Every morning, she took her daughter Jennifer to the school where she worked after dropping 13-month-old Tessa at the babysitter's. Burl Williams was also driving east toward the bridge where Highway 64 crosses Lake Dardanelle.
I was on my way to work. It was a real pretty day. The standard fog coming off the water. Sun was real bright, just coming over the hill when you're looking to the east there.
Trucker Bobby Noakes was hauling a load of logs.
I coming down Mill Creek Road and got to Highway 64. I looked both ways and started to make a turn off of 64. But I had, I didn't see nothing coming over the hill. I done straightened out and started to pull out in my lane. I never did feel her when she hit my truck. I just looked in my mirror and I've seen her on the logs.
I heard the impact and saw the van bouncing up and down as the truck was coming to a stop. You could see those logs coming all the way out. When I got out of the pickup going up there, I didn't expect to find anybody alive.
When we continue.
I just had a sinking feeling. I just thought, how in the world are we going to be able to get anyone out of this? It was an awesome sight.
When the van carrying Sharon Murray and her two young daughters slammed into the back of the logging truck, several logs came crashing through her windshield. Passing motorist Burl Williams stopped to see if there was anything he could do for the accident victims. When Burl got to the van, Sharon was struggling to free herself.
She kept saying, I've killed my baby or my baby's dead. So I started looking in the back. There was one girl in the seat behind the driver's seat. I could make out the baby carriage, and then I could see one arm, or part of an arm, sticking up.
I felt frantic and being trapped and not being able just to get to my babies immediately. These logs go all the way through the back of my van, and I know that my baby is right there in the path where these logs have gone.
The logs were just on her, and I thought she was dead.
Just down the road, Robert Hollyfield, a former EMT, was on his way to work.
As I got closer and closer, the very first thing I saw was that it was a log truck. I had a friend that was killed by basically the same situation whenever I was in high school.
I'm an emergency medical technician. Is everyone okay? Anyone hurt?
My baby's in there.
As I looked into the van, the real horror, began to stick in my throat.
Has anyone called an ambulance yet?
I'll go call.
Make sure to tell them we need rescue.
Pope County EMS and rescue units were dispatched to the scene.
Let's get my baby out. I could see that she was still in danger with the logs laying on her, and these huge logs, they were supported by nothing except just her car seat.
Tessa, honey. Tessa.
My primary concern at that time was her breathing problems. The hip being twisted up and the seat literally caving in on top of the child seemed to be causing a problem.
Just a minute. Looks like Mom is here. Looks like her hips are pinned a little bit by this.
And so I was really concerned about whether or not internal injuries were beginning to take their toll.
As we came around the log truck, I just had a sinking feeling. I just thought, how in the world are we going to be able to get anyone out of this? It was an awesome sight.
Paramedic Ormond Peters took charge of the medical situation as soon as he arrived on the scene. Sharon and her older daughter were taken to an ambulance to be checked for injuries.
She's been crying loudly, which has been a good thing. Good skin color, good respiration.
The extrication attempt was under the supervision of EMT David Mall.
Crush the baby's lower extremities.
My main stress came in from something shifting. I didn't want the baby to become injured or killed if anything shifted.
Two 50-foot logs were resting directly on her car seat.
Until we got her out, we really didn't know how serious her injuries were, and we didn't know if by lifting the pressure, she would start bleeding internally or externally.
Our top priority was to stabilize everything as best as possible, which included the van and the logs.
The rescue workers anchored the ton of logs with chains staked into the ground.
Glass up. I can't even slide my hand down in there, so we have zero tolerance.
We had the two logs coming through the van, but they were only two of a truckload, and they were on the bottom of the load, and I knew that if we shifted the two logs, that it could potentially shift the whole load.
Here we go. Go ahead. Okay, forward glass. We're going to put just enough pressure on those marlin to keep them from shifting inward. We're not going to try to pull them to the south at all.
After stabilizing the van and the logs, we all had the same feeling that the best way to move the logs away from the infant was to lift them straight up with airbags.
But the Pope County Rescue Unit had never used airbags in this way before.
Look, here's the dog. Did you see it? Here's a
It was almost as if they were made for this rescue.
Here you go. Here's your teddy bear. Can you hold on to that?
And the beauty of it is that we had only had the rescue airbags just several months.
Okay, red hose goes on bottom. So if I forget, somebody knows.
And we were all ready, everyone was ready and in position, and then we kind of said, okay, let's go with it.
Let me get my hand in there.
We eased the logs up very, very slowly. We were talking about moving those logs just millimeters at a time.
How's the van, David? The van's doing fine.
I had my hands around Tessa, and I was feeling all around, trying to see how much farther we needed to go to be able to bring her out.
Okay, I'm feeling it. Stop. Okay, I think we can slide her out now, but I'm going to need some help. Okay. We need to make sure, Marlon, that we slide her out. Okay, we got somebody outside to help out there. Okay. Yeah, make sure it's level of consciousness, sleep, not. All right, here we go. Just slide her up on the vacuum splint. There you go. Okay, good job. There we go.
The rescuers extricated Tessa from under the crushing load of logs in less than 20 minutes.
If a child is crying, that means that she's doing good. It's when she gets quiet and just lays there, that's when I worry. And the way her lungs were screaming, bellowing out, I knew that she had a lot of energy, and it was sweet music to my ears.
Tessa had suffered no serious injuries.
We were very lucky. One of those logs came so close to her, she had the slightest little skin place right on the top of her head. I mean, there was not a fraction of an inch difference to those logs, and she would not be with us. We wouldn't have our Tessa today.
The whole Murray family is grateful that Tessa was saved.
I was not 2 miles from my house when this happened. Had she not been in a car seat, in a very good car seat, she wouldn't be here today.
Because she was contained in that car seat, it protected her from the logs. It caught the car seat, and she kind of rolled with the punches.
After I found out that everyone was safe, that Tessa was okay, I guess I was probably about as happy a man as you've ever met.
I feel happy because everybody was okay, and I love my family.
I really appreciate the job that rescuers did and the care they took to get Tessa out. She's just her happy, cheerful little self every day, which we're all very thankful for.
Next.
That was the most helpless feeling in the world. I felt at that point that Ryan was slipping away.
How long was he up there? Can you tell?
About 2 minutes, I think.
On February 24th, 1991, in Ruston, Louisiana, 11-year-old Stuart Carey invited his best friend Ryan Lawrence to come over to his house.
Ryan and I have been friends for a long time. It was Sunday afternoon, and we decided to build a fort up in a pine thicket near our house. We would need something sharp to cut the trees down.
This is a sharp tool.
And me and my parents got into a little argument over it because my dad wanted us to take it and my mom didn't.
I told her that he was old enough that he'd learn to be safe with it. I've been real cautious with them about pocket knives and hatchets or anything they can injure themselves with. I do hate to see a child get hurt.
We had the hatchet now, and we had cut down all the trees and branches and lined them up against other trees, kind of as a lean-to to make the fort. Since we both had to be home by 5 o'clock, we decided we'd get on our way home. We were on our way, and we were talking like we usually do.
Probably tomorrow after school. Tomorrow we have homework and stuff. Yeah.
Then Ryan saw the rope.
Yeah. Hey, the rope! I'm gonna go swing on it. Okay.
All the neighborhood kids played on the rope. Ryan, he was a practical joker. So he put it around his neck and he goes, "Hey, Stuart, I'm gonna hang myself." And I said, "You know, cut it out. That's not funny. Don't be stupid. That's not a very smart thing to do." And then I heard some people playing off in the distance. So I turned around to see if it was anyone I knew. And while I was watching those kids, he was playing the prank.
Ryan?
I thought that all of his weight, was on his knees and that he was perfectly supported and nothing was wrong. Then when I got closer to him, I saw that the joke was over and that he was really hanging.
Ryan?
He was unconscious and he had a blue ring around his lips. I thought his neck was broken.
With Ryan's full weight on the rope, the noose was too tight for Stuart to remove it.
I knew I had to do something fast. So I started sawing as hard and as fast as I could. Every second counted, and I became panicky. I wasn't sure if what I was doing was the right thing. But then I thought, stay cool and keep a straight head about it. I checked to see if his heart was beating, and I thought he was breathing. He was still unconscious. I was scared. And that's when I ran for help.
Stuart's parents were both at home.
All he could say at first was that Ryan was hurt really bad. And I said, how's he hurt? And he said, really bad. Come quick, you gotta help us.
Ryan's been hurt.
I was expecting to see a cut, a broken bone. I never thought that it was as serious as it was. And when I topped that slope and saw Ryan, his whole face was blue. And he was convulsing. I saw the rope burns, and they were horrible. It was apparent that he was having a really difficult time breathing. I just wanted to panic. So I just ran across the street to a neighbor's house, and fortunately they were home.
Ruston police officer Stephen Beard was on patrol less than 2 miles away when word of the accident came over his radio.
When I arrived at the scene, I could see it was a very life-threatening situation. His color was very blue. His eyes rolled back into his head, and he quit breathing.
Ryan's mother, Vinay Jeter, rushed to the scene as soon as she heard what had happened.
I was more of a hindrance to Ryan than a help. And Vicki pulled me down the hill at that point and held me physically. I kept thinking he was going to die before the ambulance got there.
Kenneth Ambrose was one of the first EMTs on the scene.
It was a real steep bank. The pine needles had really covered it. It was hard to get up there. It was real slippery.
What you got? Accidental hang. 12-year-old.
The moment I saw the boy, I recognized who he was. He went to church with my son, who is the same age as he is.
Andy, get the stretcher. Y'all get the stretcher up here. It's too steep to get up the hill. We're going to have to bring him down. Brian, can you hear me?
Because of the steep bank, we took the child down to the bottom of the hill where we put him on a stretcher.
Let's go. Got him.
The police officer was holding the airway open, and when he let go, he would quit breathing.
Hold his airway open. Come on. I got it. Come on.
There was some swelling. If the swelling persisted, if it did cut off his airway, there was nothing we could do to help him.
Let's go. Let's get him in.
That was the most helpless feeling in the world. I felt at that point that Ryan was slipping away.
En route, convulsions were real violent.
Come on, Ryan, take it easy.
Ambrose managed to insert an S-tube to keep the boy's airway open.
The major concern still was that nobody knew how long he had hung there, how long he had been without oxygen.
Okay, let's go.
When Ryan arrived at Lincoln General Hospital, he was immediately examined and given medication to try and control his seizures and reduce brain swelling.
Try and relax. Bad swelling around his neck there. Okay, here we go.
That hour was the longest hour I have ever waited. The first doctor that came out told me that due to a lack of oxygen, they didn't realize how much brain damage that he would have. My little boy may never be the same again. But even if he's not, I'll love him even more.
Still in a coma, Ryan was flown 70 miles to a hospital in Shreveport that had a special children's intensive care unit.
They told me that the only thing we could do was wait it out. If in the morning Ryan doesn't respond to you, that it's very serious. At 7:30 that morning, he still had not responded. His eyes were closed. He was very still. And I got real close to him and I said, Ryan, it's Mama. Do you know who I am? And he opened his eyes real bright and he says, Vinay, like, why would you ask me a question like that? Of course I know who you are. My Ryan, my perfect little boy. He was going to pull through.
Three months later, Ryan Lawrence has completely recovered with no signs of any brain damage, thanks to the quick thinking of his friend, Stuart.
Stuart and I are closer now since this has happened. We play a lot more and we spend more time with each other, and I hope to be his friend for the rest of his life. I'll always be there if he ever needed me. I feel like I could do anything right now. I really don't want people to think I've hung myself on purpose, because I didn't. That's a lot, isn't it? Uh-oh, one got out. Other kids can learn from this that not to put a rope around your neck because you could slip and fall and anything could happen.
All right, we got it. Let's go.
The happiest moment was when we walked into ICU at Shumpert and saw Ryan sitting up. It hollered, "Hey, Miss Vicki." Because after seeing him up at the playing field, I didn't know if I'd ever see that again. I'm very proud of Stuart. Stuart kept a cool head, and had he not thought as wisely as he did, Ryan would not have made it.
Southern hospitality. I thank him and I love him from the bottom of my heart. And no matter where Stuart goes in his life, no matter how old he is, I think he and Ryan will remain the best of buddies.
Yep.
And I think that our families through this will have a bond that will never be broken.
Step out of the car, please.